Welcome to Catholic Views. I'm your host, Renee Kranz. Today on the show, I will have Father Andy Dickinson with me by Zoom. We will talk about the works of mercy and how we can use those to help evangelize. He is so fun to have on the show. It's the first time I've had him on the show. Dr. Bergwald used to have him as a co-host on his own show.
All the time.
So I was lucky enough to get him on my show finally. So it was fun. First, we're going to talk to we're going to talk to Dr. B for some biblical bites with Dr. B. Bergwald. B is for Bergwald.
I'm skipping the week. We're in Mark. We're diving in. We're diving in.
We have a lot to talk about, apparently.
So the gospel. So we're back to Mark. We talked for the last several weeks how we've been doing this Johannine interlude, as the scholars might say.
Ooh.
The Johannine interlude. So Johannine, John. So we're looking at the Bread of Life discourse for the last several weeks, but we're back to John because it's
back to Mark.
Okay. Because it's year B in the 3-year cycle. So I want to focus on the gospel today again. So this is how it starts off. It's from Mark chapter 7, the first part of chapter 7. When the Pharisees, with some scribes who had come from Jerusalem, gathered around Jesus, they observed that some of his disciples ate their meals with unclean, that is, unwashed hands. For the Pharisees, and in fact all Jews, do not eat without carefully washing their hands, keeping the tradition of the elders, and on coming from the marketplace they do not eat without purifying themselves. And there are many other things that they have traditionally observed, the purification of cups and jugs and kettles and beds. So the Pharisees and the scribes questioned him. So where I sort of sped up there, that's like a parenthetical remark. I mean, literally in the case of this translation, they just put it in dashes, the editors. Mm-hmm. So Mark is just sort of inserting that little explanation about what's the deal about unclean and unwashed hands.
Right.
So it's been a while, but we talked at one point about the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
Right. Yes.
But I want to go a little bit deeper and specifically talk about what's going on here. So, Renee, when you think Pharisees, what do you think?
You're going to ask. I was just thinking to myself, I don't think I remember any of that.
That's right.
Is that why you looked over here all funny looking?
Yes, I'm like,
Bill, what do you
I'm not answering this week.
Oh, okay. No comment. Because I skipped over what week it is and what gospel we're in. And last week, we're focusing on the gospel, not the second reading.
Last week was a train wreck.
Yeah, so.
Poor Bill. The Pharisees were priests?
No.
They paid very close attention to the law.
They did. So, but I'm glad you started with the wrong answer of priests because
no problem. I got you.
Because I think we often have this when we read the Gospels because they're often here. They are lumped together with scribes from Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. Scribes aren't necessarily priests themselves either, but the Pharisees were actually just simply very zealous Jewish laymen.
Okay.
Who took certain traditions very, very seriously. So the word Pharisee itself, so in the Hebrew word that the English word Pharisee comes from, means separated.
Okay.
So the Pharisaical movement began a few centuries before Jesus. As Bill looked over, was there a question there?
Pharisaical.
Pharisaical.
Large
Johannine interlude. Pharisaical movement.
I need a dictionary for this episode.
So the Pharisaical movement began a few centuries before Jesus. So the Holy Land, centuries before Jesus, had been conquered by foreign powers, right? So we've talked about this. So for a long time, there have been different foreign powers that are occupying and controlling the Holy Land. Well, Pharisees were a group of Jews who said, no, we're the Jewish people. I don't care if they're Greeks or the Romans. We're different from those Gentiles, from the pagans.
Right.
We're faithful to the Torah, to the law given by God through Moses to the people. We're going to remain faithful to the Torah and all of the other laws that Moses himself. We're going to remain faithful to the people to show that we're separate, faithful to the Torah, to show that we're separate from all these other people, and to make sure that we stay true to the Torah. We are going to basically keep all these other traditions that are like, so if the Torah is like think of like a
Thinking.
Never mind. Forget the metaphor. Forget the metaphor.
Okay.
The oral traditions of the Pharisees are a fence that they built around the Torah, so to speak. So in order that I never actually got it, the Torah is like a swimming pool, And what do good parents do? They build a fence around the
Yes.
swimming pool so their kids don't accidentally fall into the pool.
Right.
So the oral traditions of the Pharisees are there to prevent Jews like themselves who take the Torah very seriously from ever violating the Torah. So in today's reading, we're reading about Jesus' disciples eating their meals with unclean, that is, unwashed hands. So they're being ritually impure. So it's not about so much about the hands are literally dirty.
Right.
It's that they haven't been ritually purified. Now in the Torah, doing things like ritual purifications were mostly for the priests to do.
Okay.
But what do the Pharisees do? They take the Torah and they build a fence around it. So we're showing we don't want to violate the Torah at all, and we're showing that we take the Torah very seriously. So we are going to apply these, in this case, these ritual purification, these purification rituals. We're going to apply them to all of us.
Right.
If you are like us, a serious Jew, if you're faithful, if you're really serious about not violating the Torah, then you too will follow these other traditions, not found in the Torah, but we've been following them for centuries as the way of making sure that we're staying true to the law of Moses, true to the Torah given to us by God through Moses, and to show that we are different than the Gentiles and the pagans.
And they didn't like that Jesus didn't do that.
And Jesus didn't do that. And
Right.
why? That's another thing we can get into some other time. But the point here is that when we understanding what's going on here,
Right.
this is what's happening. Jesus is breaking some of those lower T traditions that serious Jews observed.
Great explanations. I hope I can remember them for next time.
You can rewatch the video.
I can. Thanks, Dr. B.
You bet.